So as a founder trying to grow and build your business, it is inevitable that you are going to go into a phase where you as a founder become the bottleneck of your own business. And from my experience building and growing a team to 10 people and spending tens of thousands of euros on making mistakes, I've seen that there is usually three reasons why a founder becomes the bottleneck, which the first one is that the founder is the business. Everything lives inside his own head, because up until the point of building a team, you have been alone as the founder. So you have been the quality, you have been the systems, etc., etc. Then the second one is micromanaging people. And the third one is not understanding ownership and how that really works. And these are the three main reasons I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to explain why they happen, how they happen, and how you can recognize them, and then how to fix it and move forward to be able to have, to work on your business and to be able to have the freedom that building a team comes with. So sometimes there might be some rooster sounds in the back. I'm in Bali right now, and there is a rooster farm right next to us. So I'm very happy with that, but I'm going to try my best to edit it out. But if you hear something, you know why. Let's go. So the first one is that you as a founder are the business. Literally up until the point where you are right now building a team, you have been the quality. You have had the systems in your head. You've done all the work, and everything basically depended on you and maybe a freelancer or a co-founder. So once you start building a team, quality doesn't come from you as a founder anymore, and it shouldn't come from you as a founder anymore, but it should come from your team members. And the only way to do that is to basically switch the role that you have within the business. So instead of being an executor like you were in the beginning, you have to become a provider. So instead of doing the work, you have to create the environment for your team to do the best work possible. Right. And the way that you do this is by documenting what lives inside your head. So documenting how work needs to be done, documenting your systems, documenting certain rules, certain ways of work that needs to happen within the business. And you do that with creating SOPs, right? Just like creating a database in Notion or in Drive, whatever tool you like to use the most, and just mapping out all of the steps and tasks that need to be done for like the daily work. And when you've done that, you don't have to explain that to people anymore. And then the quality comes from what is documented instead of what's in your head as a founder. And this is something that just, it happens so much. And you probably, have felt this before, if you experienced this before, that people just come to you all the time asking questions about how they should do certain things and how they should do that. And you just have to explain it over and over again. So instead of having to do that, you want to document it. And documenting, it will feel like it's a task that it isn't really bringing in money, or it's just a slow task. It's boring. It's not fun. But in the end, this really is what makes your team work, but also what not just which keeps your head sane, or which creates freedom within your business, but also the quality, right? So instead of just you having to do it, or you have to rely on the skills of your team members, you can rely on the things that you have documented. So it's also a quality control. Then the second reason why founders become the bottleneck is micromanaging. And to understand why we micromanage and how to actually not micromanage, we first have to understand where micromanaging comes from. And this is pretty interesting. Micromanaging in the end comes from fear of things going wrong, fear of your people making mistakes. But look at it this way. You would not have been where you are today without making mistakes. Your entire journey from where you started and where you are right now has been full of mistakes. It hasn't been a clean journey. So, when you look at it like that, mistakes become much less scary, and you want your team members to start making more mistakes, because that's how people learn. And making mistakes is good when they happen once. And you have made a lot of mistakes, and it got you here. So your team members, you don't have to fear for your team members to make mistakes, because it's going to happen. It's inevitable. But at the same time, it's making sure that they learn, and it got you where you are. So it will get them where you want them to get to go to, basically. So failure isn't bad. That makes our fear for micromanaging, we shouldn't fear micromanaging, or we shouldn't fear mistakes, basically. Now, what is the opposite of fear? And this is actually how we stop micromanaging, and that's trust. So we should trust our team. We should trust the people. We should trust their process. We should trust that they learn from their mistakes, and we should trust our documented systems. And that's how you make sure you're not micromanaging anymore. You're not like trying to make sure nothing goes wrong, watching someone's shoulder and just like trying to like behold them from making mistakes of like the most small things that don't really even matter. But instead of it, just trust that they will see it themselves. And if they make mistakes, that they will actually learn from these mistakes. And then the third one is not understanding ownership. And this kind of mixes with the first point, where you as a founder, up until the point when you start building a team, you have been the quality, you have been the systems, you have been the entire business, and now your team starts to become the business, basically. So now, instead of where you do the work and the quality, you are of course providing the environment and building the environment, and people can do that. But to actually make sure that that happens, you have to understand what ownership is and why ownership is so important. Because there's actually a personal story behind this on how I did this completely wrong. So I hired people, I hired a scriptwriter, and this scriptwriter started to write scripts. And the first time that they wrote scripts, of course, they were not perfect, and there were a lot of mistakes within that script. So I checked the script and I started to fix everything. And I just said like, okay, I fixed this, next time do this better. That was basically it. There was not like really training. I was not explaining why I fixed it. I was not explaining how they should do it better, but just like, okay, I changed this and you should fix it, right? So instead of like asking them to fix it, I was fixing it myself, because it felt faster. It felt like, okay, if I just change this sentence, which I don't like right now, that's definitely faster than having to jump on a call with that scriptwriter and explaining everything, why it's not good and why you should change it. And, so it just felt faster. But what it was actually doing, it was showing my scriptwriter that ownership wasn't theirs, that they didn't have to do it good, because I was just fixing it, So instead of them trying to do better, they started doing worse, because I just checked it and they were like, okay, yes, I will check it. So whatever, it doesn't really matter. So they didn't feel the ownership, and it was a cycle that was just going down and down and down, where I just, started to fix more and they just started to care less. And also it reinforced like my mental that I had to fix everything all the time. So it was a downward spiral. And, how I actually broke that is, first of all, and how you can break that, if you feel like you are right now just running around, putting out fires in your business everywhere, just going crazy, trying to fix all the mess that people leave behind, you probably feel the same way, and you've probably experienced this. And the way to actually break this cycle is, first of all, acknowledge that you are in this cycle, and then understand that nothing changes until this cycle is broken, right? You are just going to keep on fixing things and putting out fires unless you step out of that cycle. And when you step back out of the cycle, that's the only like way to basically clear the water, so you can see clear again and you can break that cycle. That you can step out and that you can actually see like, okay, where is the problem, instead of all like many things that you have to fix, to see like, okay, this is really where the problem is, and this is what I should fix. This is where systems have to come in place, or this is where I should write SOPs about, or this is how I should start coaching my team members, instead of just fixing lines in a script or fixing the edit, or these type of like low task, low leverage things. Instead, you want to start looking forward, like, okay, how can I make sure that this mistake that they make, how can I actually turn that into a good thing, and how can I actually explain that to them so they understand why it's happening, so they not only not do it again, but they also learn and become smarter, and start seeing patterns of and not making other mistakes, right? And I guess that is what you should do as a founder, and that comes back to like, instead of doing the work, just creating the environment for your team to do their best work possible. And that's how your role is shifting. So from executor, you go to provider. And this is very important to grow your business further and to grow into the further stage, and to make sure that your team is actually productive and it grows your business, and eventually you can step out of it and you can stay working on the business. So yes, this is just something that I wanted to share with you here. These come from my personal experiences, and you may feel the same way, you may have experienced the same things. And if there are other things that you think why founders are bottlenecking in their business, or if I have things wrong, or you have a different view on it, then let me know in the comments, and I'm really looking forward reading that and going into discussions. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you actually took some knowledge out of this, and I'll see you in the next video.